We are now talking to Wake Forest punting recruit Bryce McFerson. What's going on, Bryce?
How's it going? I'm
Uh,
doing good. How are you guys?
well, I'm not dancing. I always say that I'm not dancing because there's so much going on here in New York. Despite the fact that we have a presidency coming up in the next couple of weeks and everybody's going back and forth, and I don't want to get into politics, but our New York teams stink. Okay, it is absolutely horrendous. Bryce, thank God you don't live in New York, because if you had to root for any of these teams, you got the Giants that barely beat the Washington Redskins yesterday. Washington football team yesterday because their coach decided to go for a 2-point conversion with 35 seconds left in the game, which was absolutely ridiculous, and he gave the Giants the win. And then you have the New York Jets that can't even get a point against the lonely Miami Dolphins. And I don't say that I think they're a good team this year. They're 3-3, but this is a team that was a laughingstock in the NFL for the last 3 years. So I don't know. So as a New York fan, I'm not very happy, Bryce. How are you? How are you and your family doing with this pandemic?
We're doing pretty well. It's been a pretty good last 6 months. I actually already had the virus, which was, it wasn't really that bad. But then now I'm actually out for 2 weeks of games because someone in one of my classes got the virus. So
How are you feeling? Are you better now? Or when you knew that you had the virus, what did you feel? Did you have a deep cough? You couldn't breathe? Did you have a fever? What did you have? How did you know that you had the virus?
Well, it was actually like 2, 3 months ago maybe, and one of our friends actually got it, who was at our house the night before. And so then after 2 or 3 days, I started having some symptoms, just a little bit of a cough, fatigue, headache, and that was pretty much it.
Now, Bryce, and by the way, we are talking to the number one punting recruit in the nation, Bryce McFerson, Wake Forest recruit. What was it like, Wake Forest coming and recruiting you and talking to you? I'm sure there were a bunch of teams lining up from you, from the SEC, from the Big 12, Pac-12, or the Big 10. I'm sure there was a load of teams looking at you because you're the number one punting recruit in the nation. Why did you decide to go to Wake Forest? What persuades you to choose Wake Forest out of all the other schools that were interested in you?
Well, actually, at the beginning of this year, I wasn't really looking at Wake Forest at all. I didn't really think about it until my kicking coach, Dan Warner, he told me that Wake Forest was going to take a punter in my class of 2022. And so when he said that, I was like, oh, okay. Hadn't really looked into Wake Forest. A couple other schools have been looking at me, and so then started looking into Wake Forest, talked to the special teams coach, and that's just really how it got started. And then talked to him every once in a while until about September. And that's when, recruiting opens up for juniors. And so that's when I was talking to a bunch of different schools, Penn State, Virginia, Baylor, Michigan State, and, of course, Wake Forest. And
all top schools, and you decide to go to Wake Forest. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, they're the only one to offer me, but it's not just because of that. It's just because it's a great school all around, amazing business school. And that's what I want to do in college. And then I really like the coaching staff a lot. They seem like very, not just good coaches. They just seem like they care about their players a lot.
Mm-hmm. So what was your reaction when you found out you were the number one punting recruit in the entire nation?
It was pretty cool because it's just different camps. But, I just moved up from number 2. But it was still obviously a great thing after this Coles camp in, July.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We are talking to Wake Forest punting recruit, the number one recruit punter in the nation, Bryce McFerson. Now, Bryce, punting, there is some kind of mathematical equation to this. Now, I watch a lot of NFL football, and I watch the Jets drafted the number one punter in the draft this year. Man, he has not looked good for the New York Jets. This is a guy that everybody said that can kick the ball almost 5 seconds in the air before it hits the ground, which is ridiculous. That you have to kick the ball really, really high. what is your highest you've kicked the ball, and what being a punter? What is it? What made you decide to be a punter? Did you play soccer? Did you play rugby? What was the reasoning on why, out of all the positions you could have played in football, you decided to be a punter?
Yeah, so actually I played soccer pretty much when I was really young, up until 7th grade. And so in 7th grade, I was on 2 teams, a club team and then school team. And both the coaches were just kind of intense. And so slowly, once I got into middle school, it just kept getting more intense with soccer. I mean, as it should be. But then that's when I started to realize, like, I'm not really having that much fun anymore. And so I decided I would just quit soccer and then play football in 8th grade. And so obviously going to football from soccer, I'm thinking I'm going to be the kicker. But then I also actually played linebacker in 8th grade.
So what were some of the reasons that you decided to take that away? Obviously, soccer has been one of the best youth sports, but was it like you said, maybe not fun? Was it the stamina? Was it anything like that? And also, again, how is the kicking motions very different? Because the soccer players, they got to spin the ball. Football players, like Errol was saying, you got to get that hang time on those punts. What are some of the differences, and how easy was that to transition from that?
Yeah, so it's really different in a lot of ways, because soccer, there's no, like, in youth soccer a lot, they don't really teach you exactly how to get the most power and height out of a ball. They teach you how to, like, drive it, saying, like, keep your chest over, but obviously when you're, like, kicking or punting, you want to do the opposite. And so that's really where I came to work with Dan Warner, and it's just been so much to learn. So
now, I watch a lot of football, and I played football in high school. I was a corner and I was a wide receiver, and I look at some of these punters. They're very long. They have long legs. What is your strengths and what is your weaknesses when it comes to being a punter? I mean, do you have big feet? I mean, what makes a good punter? I don't know, because I've never punted a ball. I have tried to punt a ball, and I've tried to kick a ball. I am terrible. I am one of the worst kickers you've ever seen in your entire life. I am not a soccer player, never played soccer, and every time I try to kick a ball, I look at of every single sport, the 2 sports I could not do was soccer, and for some reason I was not interested in lacrosse. So tell me, what do you have to do as a punter to become a good punter?
yeah, well, strengths and weaknesses, obviously there are a couple, but I feel like for me, my strength is really just like my leg speed. And so when you punt, you really want to lock your knee out to get the most out of your swing. And so I feel like that's my strength. And then weaknesses, probably my ankles. They're kind of beefy. And so when you see like punters, you know how their ankles are just completely like flat. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I just kind of have to work towards that, because mine are a little more beefy and not as flexible.
As long as you're beefier than this kid sitting next to me. I mean, look at him. He's skinny as hell. Look at him. He's about 140 pounds soaking wet. You got to be bigger than that. How tall are you, by the way, Bryce?
I'm 6'1".
Oh, you're long. So I see a lot of the good punters. They either have big legs or long legs. It's one or the other. So you obviously have long legs.
Yeah.
So and that definitely helps. I've heard some stories about this kid, man, but I have not been impressed with the kid. So do you see yourself in the future playing professional football? Is there any way or any thought to that? I mean, you're the number 1 punter in the nation. I mean, it's hard to say that. We've interviewed so many good punters. We've interviewed the Stanford punter. We've interviewed the Wisconsin punter. We've interviewed so many different punters.
Ashton Logan.
Yes, all the different punters in the nation, and you're the best one out of all of them. So tell me, I mean, where do you see yourself in the future? Do you see yourself playing professional football?
Well, obviously that's the goal in mind. And I'm just going to keep working towards that goal. But if I get the opportunity, that would be amazing.
You will. If you continue doing what you're doing, that you've been doing in high school, and you do that all the way in college, and being that you're one of the best punters in the country, you'll get there. Because everybody, I'm sure there are a ton of scouts, NFL scouts, that have probably looked at you in high school, and they're definitely going to be looking at Wake Forest. Even though Wake Forest is not really a football school, it's more of a basketball school, but they have a good football team. They do.
Yeah.
So when you were a kid? Obviously, you said you got into football a little later, but did you ever win any of those pump, packing, pass, and kick competitions? And if so, how many?
Punt pat. What's that?
They didn't have them for you? Oh, okay. It was a competition done usually in middle school a lot of the time.
Oh God, Speedy. How do you,
I guess they don't have them over with him. All right.
Over here in the East
I
Coast.
do remember there was in elementary school, probably fourth, maybe fifth grade. I went to a Charlotte youth football camp. Charlotte, UNC Charlotte. And so I was there, and I remember I played soccer. I'd never really played football, and so it was a lot of fun. But then they had the punting portion, and so I actually was the second to last person to go. I kicked it, but it went way off to the left, and then some other dude comes and he kicks it straight, and it's a foot farther than me, so I lost.
Well, I will say kicking is a weapon. So did you ever do mixed martial arts? Have you done martial arts before?
I actually wrestle at my school.
Really? I was a wrestler too. Are you an all-state, all-American? Are you that good, or are you just a wrestler?
Not all-American, but I got second in states my freshman year. And
really?
Then last year,
what weight class? What weight class?
170 last year, and then 152 freshman year.
Really? Oh, so you're a wrestler. Beware, Wake Forest guys in the locker room. You mess with this guy, he might have to take you to the ground and tap you out,